And we have the recording. Yeah, we did it. We did it. Okay, so hi everybody. Sorry about the old dilemma that we could not do the interview in the live call. We're gonna figure out if it is possible. If not, we're gonna continue this way as long as we find any other way. But as far as I see, that is perfect right now. And so here we have Deb that you see her on I see her on the top of the screen. And as I'm recording that, you should see her on the top of the screen. Hi, Deb.
Hello.
And then I have Soila here, one of the members of the group. Some other members said that they're gonna join too. So we are waiting for you. If you join the conversation anytime, just pay attention that if you are watching, you can ask your questions too. So without further ado, welcome everybody to our first interview. I'm so excited for that. I cannot imagine. We made it happen. So we have Deb here. She just recently joined our group. That's I'm very excited for that too. I know Deb from another group that I am a member, Antra group, that we both work in that together toward a better future for everybody, our families, and the whole people around the world. And just here in our group, role model parents raising independent kids, we are working on help parents to be a role model for their kids, to make a better future for themselves and for their kids, and teach them how to be independent emotionally, socially, and financially by the age that they reach the young adulthood, that is about the age of 20 to 25. Now here we have Deb here, that she has been a teacher for many years, and she is way beyond just a teacher. She's gonna explain all the roles that she has and she has had, and she's continuing all her help and services to everybody. So let's hear from her. Deb, welcome to our program, and we are so excited to have you. Please introduce yourself and tell us that what you have been doing, what have been your job, and whatever explanation you'd like to give us. Go ahead, please.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I feel extremely honored to be here and talking about what I've done in my life. For 40 years, I have worked with kids. I was a teacher in California, Arizona, Nevada, and Idaho. And I have taught, I tell everybody I've taught from birth to death, because I work with newborn babies all the way up to college age students. And I mean, I even had college age students that were like in their 60s and 70s. That was really pretty exciting. I've done a lot of things, but I spent most of my time in special education as a teacher and as an administrator. I worked quite heavily with what's called the TACSI, and it's TACSEI. It's a program, and to be honest, I don't remember exactly who developed it, but it is being refined at the University of Nevada in Reno, at their School of Education, and it's basically a behavioral program for people to follow, so that they don't. A lot of school districts just can't afford BCBAs to work with kids that have behavioral issues. And so I did a lot of training with parents and social workers that, they would come in as a team, and we would work on special behavioral programs for their children. I also had parents, they just wanted to know good ways to be parents. And because if you start as a good parent, and we all make mistakes. Oh my gosh, my kids could give you a laundry list of mistakes I made. But if people give you ideas ahead of time, and if you've got some tools in your hand, exactly. and just little things. my kids are now adults and teachers.
Very
uh,
nice.
and it's kind of interesting too when you talk about money and stuff. When they were growing up, I was sick. I had kidney failure. Plus, I worked, and my husband, of course, worked as well. But I was gone a lot because of the kidney failure. I was off to doctors, etc. And I always kept a glass jar on the dryer. And as I would clean out everybody's pants and stuff, I would put the money in the jar. And from the time my kids were little, the rule was whatever you need the money for, take it. If it's book fair day and I forgot to leave money for you, take it. If you
Very
are a
nice.
teenager going out to lunch, take it. And my daughter, she's almost 40. She said to me, Mom, I heard all my friends saying, oh, I had to steal money from my mom. And it's just a saying. They weren't really stealing it. But we put that in their head when we asked them to go dig the money out of our purses. And she said, thank you for not putting that in my head that I was stealing from you, because there was always money in the jar. And part of the way of keeping them from like being frivolous with the money is that at the end of the year, whatever money was left, and they always knew this, we would go pick kids off of the Christmas tree in our town, and they would use the money to buy those kids presents.
Oh, so
And
nice.
so just little things like that make a difference to kind of to add some legitimacy, even though I feel that all parents are legitimate, um, and they just by being a parent, we're all in this same boat together. But as a teacher, quite often I would get, well, who are you to tell us what to do and what not to do? And I have several bachelor's degrees. I have 2 master's degrees, one
Wow.
in curriculum and one in being um, a principal, basically. And so then that was how I was able to be an administrator for special education. And so when you go work on a doctorate degree, they at the very end you have to pay, you have to pay depending on where you live. But the school I went to, I had to pay $8,500 to get my lambskin, and part of what that is for is to print your book and everything. And I was already retired, and I thought, no, I went there for the learning. I'm not going to pay the $8,500 just so that they can print my book. I do have a strong background. I have greatly studied Dr. Amen, who runs the Amen clinics. I had a lot of my students that had brain injuries, and I would send them there
Wow.
because he would do scans to figure out where the holes were at in their brains and where the synapses weren't working. And so I do have a very strong background. And since your sister's online, Nadia, I'm going to tell you a little story about one of my students.
Great.
So I spent most of my time working with kids with special needs, and a lot of them didn't talk. So I had a little girl, and she was about to turn 5, and I had been working with her for about 3 years, and her mother came for conferences, and she was in tears. She said, oh, we just had her 5-year-old physical, and the doctor said if they don't talk by the time they're 5, they're never going to talk.
Oh my God.
And so the mom was very upset because the little girl didn't talk. And I said, and her name was Nadia.
Oh my God.
Usually I don't give out names for confidentiality, but you don't know her last name. So anyway, and mind you, she was about to turn 5, but she was in size 2 clothing. So she little teeny tiny thing, and she had these huge, huge eyes.
Oh my God.
And so we were getting ready to go out to recess, and she always waited till the very last second. And then because she was so tiny, she would shimmy up to the, in between everybody in the classroom up to the door to be the first one outside.
Oh.
So we're getting in line, and I had a teaching assistant teaching assistants are worth their weight in gold, let me tell you. Anyway, she was standing at the door, and she said, no, Missy. And she had her hands on her hips. She said, you get to the back of the line.
Oh.
And so my little Nadia, she puts her hands on her hips and she looked at the teacher and she
Oh,
said, "You," and called her the B word. And we were all excited. Yay, she
oh
talked.
my God. Yeah.
And we
She
such
needed
a
that trigger.
celebration.
Yeah, very nice.
Anyways, it, the funny part was that her grandfather was a preacher of his church, and he always came to pick her up. And so I called the mother real quick and said, I'd really like you to come if you can, because I want to tell you what happened today. And I didn't really want to tell Grandpa, who was a preacher, but he happened to show up first.
Oh,
And so we waited for Mom, and then we told him what happened. And I was so embarrassed. And Mom came to school the next week, and she said, "Grandpa got in front of the church, and he even used the B word."
yeah, that has been a good people.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think
and
that's the
that's
first
one.
time in the history that you will become so glad to hear such a word, right?
And that's the beauty of working in special
Exactly.
education. It's the celebrations, and it takes so much for a child to have gains, and so many of them, their parents get frustrated with them. Your kids that are in the special education classrooms are typically the most abused kids around, and working with their behaviors can be very difficult. But when they succeed, it's just amazing. And
Yeah.
and then it was kind of funny because you have terminology you use, and one of the reasons you want to work with parents and social, as a team. And I'd had grandparents come in. I was fortunate that I had a lot of divorced families that mom and stepdad and dad and stepmom came in as a team, so that we were all on the same page. We were all using the same terminology.
Nice.
Because if I call something a cup, but you call it a water dispenser or whatever, it's confusing for kids. And I mean, that's just hypothetical.
Very
Um,
good.
but anyway, so having everybody on the same page just makes all the difference in the world. And so when you're parenting, period, whether your child has special needs or not, being on the same page is really important. And having a united front, where mom and dad, we stand together, that's extremely important.
Yes, that's very important.
For your
Yeah,
kids to know that we're a family and we work things out together.
exactly. Yeah,
And these are our rules.
exactly.
And we used to sit down with our kids too on a regular basis
Very
and
good.
say, um, because I had some kind of older, I have an 8-year time span, and have family meetings about, what do you think our rules should be now? Things are changing, especially when we had 3 driving cars at the same time. So
Yeah,
uh, what should be the rules? And when they have a say in making the rules, and in my classroom, we would sit down, and even in my special ed classrooms, this class would have one set of rules and that class might have a different set, just because we sat down to make the rules together.
exactly.
So,
Very good.
and there was
Perfect.
one thing that we did always have in common. I shouldn't say always, but 20 years ago, I got a kidney transplant. And so,
Oh,
sadly, someone had to die for me to get a transplant. And so my classroom was always her classroom. It was an amazing story, really. She was going to school to be exactly what I was working with. And so, but she never made it to the classroom. So she was like our mascot, and I had her
oh,
pictures, and the kids always knew they were Team Delia. And every day we kind of charged up in the morning by, kind of having affirmations with the students. And we would say, Delia, we are this or we are that in our classroom. And they got to choose what their affirmations were. So um, that was just little things like that they
exactly.
help the behavior in your classroom
Exactly.
and at home.
Very good. Perfect. Deb, you have a rich life and so many experience. Really, that's very
Thank you.
amazing to have you here. So, I'd like to know, what do you do now? Have you been retired, and what do you do now?
So I am retired from teaching. It was kind of interesting. I retired in February of 2019, right when everything was locking up anyway. Literally a week after I retired, all the schools locked up.
Yeah.
But I was already, throughout the years, I've written educational grants and tourism grants. And so I started writing grants for a former boss. And then somebody asked him, who wrote your grant? Because we know you don't have a grant writer anymore. And they told him. And so kind of word got around. And so I started writing lots of educational grants.
Nice.
On the flip side, part of how I got involved in Entra is that um, I had this. I had two students over the years that died of starvation, and I have this thing. I always had. I mean, all 40 years, I always carried food everywhere I went, and if I had a classroom, all the kids knew where the food was at, and my food drawer and my drink drawer was always open. I mean, even in the middle of class, if I was teaching and you were hungry, you could go get something to eat, because
Nice.
I just had too many kids that couldn't, and they didn't have it at home. And so I started a foundation, and actually I started Entra because I wanted to raise money to do. A lot of schools are doing what they call the backpacks, where on the weekend they get a backpack of food to take home, but most schools don't include the preschool population, or the, like, Head Start starts at birth, so they don't include that birth to 5 population with the backpacks. And I saw so many of our students coming to school hungry on Mondays. I mean, they literally would hit my drawer and practically empty it out before school even started. And so, and then after I had the 2 students that I had called DCFS so many times on their families because I knew they were starving. And I was sending home food as much as I could. And anyway, so that's what I started here. I wrote a grant to do a backpack program in the preschools in this town I'm in. And then I had one of the educational credit unions that gave me quite a bit of money to do the town next to me. And so that's kind of what I'm doing now. I do have a page called The Best Life Family, and we talk about chronic illness and caregiving. And that's mainly because of going through a transplant. I was caregiver of each of my parents and my husband. And and those kind of go hand in hand. And I worry about families that financially go broke because medical is expensive. And over the years, being a teacher and being in education, I've just learned of so many different resources, and to help parents and families fund the medical for themselves or for their children. So that's why I started my group page, and then just with my grant writing, I do affiliate marketing for Amazon. I don't think I'm allowed to say that out loud, but oh well. Anyway,
That's totally fine. What's the name of your group?
Pardon?
What's the name of your group?
It's The Best Life Family.
Okay, The Best Life Family. So The Best Life Family is your page and your group. Okay, go ahead, please.
Oh, my page is my name,
Okay,
Debra Hartwig.
all right. Debra Hartwig. Okay.
The group is The Best Life Family.
I just forgot to say your last name. Okay, Debra Hartwig. Okay.
Yeah, and basically I use those funds for doing this backpack program in the area, and I hope one day to expand and make this more global across the United States. I'm sure there are other places doing it. I just don't know of any others that are doing it other than in the grades K through 12. And I just cannot understand how in the United States we have starving children.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's very unfortunate.
And they are not going to learn if they're hungry.
Exactly.
You have to take care of the basic needs, and it's just sad. So that's basically why I do what I do now. And so I spend most of my day at home online, and I'm my mother's caregiver, and so that's what I do.
Perfect. Great. Very nice. You have a very big heart and you are a giver. Just has been done that your whole life and you're continuing doing that after even retirement, kind of. Very nice. So you told me that you are helping people to if they need some medical needs, also they get some help regarding those ones, regarding that how they fill the form to get that faster, all those ones. Can you explain about that a bit more?
Yeah, so in my group a few months ago, I did a 5-week class on for parents on how to get what's called Katie Beckett, and it's a program through it's run through the welfare office. I mean, like here we call it the Medicaid office, and in California, I think it was Medi-Cal, but so it's an application. Now they're almost all online. So you go online to apply for Katie Beckett. And basically, Katie Beckett is a program for parents or or caregivers, or because some kids are being raised by guardians, to that maybe they make too much money to get state funding, like Medi-Cal, Medicare, whatever, or Medicaid. I mean, or else they have insurance, but the insurance doesn't cover the expense of their child, if that makes sense. I've worked with some kids that were like $1 million before they were even a month old, and insurances just don't cover that. So this covers everything that your state funded insurance would cover. And so I did a 5-week course, and I'm going to do it again, on helping people go through the application, because it is kind of cumbersome, and there's a lot of terminology that you use on these applications to get accepted, and there's a lot of like strategy that you use so that you're not filling out the application over and over and over again, because that's kind of what I've seen parents go, they apply for it, and it's hard to get. So Katie Beckett also, you have to show that you have to provide more for your child than other parents would provide. So not just the money part, but you have to spend more time with your child. A lot of kids, I worked with kids with feeding tubes, etc. So, I mean, not every parent has to feed their child through a feeding tube. I had students with autism that had severe behaviors, and I'm sure some of your families have children with autism and deal with these behaviors, and so you spend a lot more time with your child that is not able to take care of themselves the way, they don't progress like other kids do. Like at the age of 3, you can leave your child alone in the room while you go to the bathroom. Well, some parents with kids with autism can't. And so I teach them how to make sure they document all of that information of the care they give to their children, so that when the nurse comes to their home to do an evaluation, they're prepared. And anyway, so it is a 5-week process. I know that sounds like a lot of work. I only did half-hour long classes because sometimes it's overwhelming. I mean, parents who are applying for something like this, their life is already extremely difficult. And so I did the 5-week classes. So far, I've had 3 of the parents from the first class last summer get onto Katie Beckett. One of my students actually got a transplant January 1st.
That's
so that was very
amazing.
exciting.
Yeah.
They contacted me right away and said, "Oh, our little girl got a liver," and so yeah,
That's
they were very
amazing.
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
So that's one of the things I do. I'm also going to do a class coming up on. I mean, I've got a series of classes, and I know Entre says do these classes and sell them, but I want to I want to help parents. I want to help families. I know what it's like to be broke from medical, and so I'm going to do a class for people that are trying to get on Social Security disability, and or
Yes.
there's help for people too, like that are sick, or maybe they need a transplant. But like I worked the whole time that I was chronically ill. They still consider you chronically ill after you get the transplant. But I mean, I worked the whole time I was sick, the whole time I was on dialysis. And, but there are some people that can't. And so, and when you can't work, you obviously don't have insurance. I mean, unless somebody's paying for it for you. But so many people, like, I mean, I knew people that could only afford their dialysis, and they were living in storage units so that they could afford their dialysis. And so there are programs, though, to help people not have to live like that. And no one should have to live in a storage unit so that they can have medical.
Yes.
You know, to choose between having a decent roof over your head or medical should not be a choice, not in the United States.
Exactly.
So anyway, I do have live classes for that coming up starting the end of February.
Perfect. That's great.
So yeah, so that's all. The big thing I want to do is to show people how, if you don't have insurance, you can afford your medical or your child's medical. And there are so many programs you can get on. But when you walk into, like, let's say the welfare office, it's not a welcoming place to go anyway. And they don't know the resources. They know what's in front of them. I've been into many of these offices trying to train them on Katie Beckett, and so many people have never even heard of it, and yet it's on most applications because it's a program across the United States. And it covers everything that welfare would cover for someone else, but it's for families that are over income, or else don't have any insurance at all.
Very good.
So
this is so nice that you are doing most of your services for free. But I just wanted to mention that I'm sure that there are so many people that are eager to just help in this process because you are connecting the resources. You're connecting the families that they are in need with the resources that they are available, but they cannot reach it. Right? So I'm sure that there are so many people that are eager to help you in this process because you are doing the hard part of that. But there are families that they are willing to help by donation or some other stuff. So maybe if you make a donation part, so many people can help you, and in this way, they will help you to help those people. So to ease the process, right? So
one of the things that I have pushed, Nadia, is I have gone to some of the local doctors that deal with kids that have these issues, and I'm trying to work out with a couple of the larger hospitals to actually go and do classes for some of these families, and for the hospital to give me a stipend for coming in. And so I'm not worried. I mean, I do have a retirement. Yes, it's a teacher retirement, but I have a roof over my head because my husband, my late husband, and I, we followed the Dave Ramsey program. When he passed away, we had no debt, and my kids were all through college, so we weren't trying to fund kids either. So I just felt like, I was given so much when I was sick, and I just believe now it's my turn to pay it forward. And so I don't want anybody to not get this service. And I felt by being online, like the little girl I was working with was in Pennsylvania. And so being online, I can reach so many more people that aren't sitting in my neighborhood, but this program sits in theirs. First, they can watch me, and then things like Katie Beckett and Social Security, they're in every community.
Exactly. That's a good thing about the online programs, that you can help and you can reach the people very far away, right? Far and near, that even those people that they do not have the ability to go and find those ones, but nowadays it becomes, the whole world is like a big community, right? So we all can reach each other. That's great. Perfect.
It's kind of exciting too, because I mean, I grew up in California, but it's exciting to be talking to you from California.
Exactly.
And your demographics are much different because, I mean, Boise is a city, but it's not like, I mean, I grew up in the Los Angeles it's not Los Angeles. And so it's just exciting to be able to connect. You know, when I was going to school, though I was in Los Angeles or just above Los Angeles, I, I had cousins in a very small town in Colorado, and they knew nothing but the 1,000 people that were in their town. And there was no internet for them to know other people and to know that there's an existence in life other than your own. And so I just think the internet has just opened up so many opportunities for people, and you know, so much help for parents. I wish you had been online when I was parenting, because you know, I'd sit and tell my husband, "Oh, that was wrong of me," you know, because I get upset, especially when my kids were teenagers. And I raised girls, and you know, girls are kind of difficult when they're teenagers, and
exactly.
do 5 million things, and you know, we just couldn't always go everywhere they wanted to go, and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's exactly the reason that I made my group, right? Because I had that feeling, I had that need in myself too. Because, you know, the parents always just say that, oh, am I doing right? Am I, you know, as a parent, good parents always feel that they are afraid that they don't want to be short in their responsibilities regarding their kids, right? And there is always something that we don't know as a parent, right? We just start being a parent, right? And then we may do some mistakes too. So I just made this one to just first search for myself the things that I don't know, to go and follow, and then share with the other parents too, so that we can make a community that we all help each other and help our kids and raise them in a way that we make sure that they reach the things that they deserve to have, all the things that we wanted to have when we get at the age of like 20, 25, right? Like I was thinking that, for example, if if I had more resources or everyone else, then I could be financially independent way earlier instead of at the higher age, right? If they
right.
get settled at the age of 20, 25, anyway, under 30, they can save so much time and money, and they can be more productive in the world. Like imagine that the people get settled under 30, and then they have time to spend to others, to help other people. What a wonderful world it becomes,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think everyone wants to give back to their community. And it's our job as parents to show our kids to be involved, volunteering, and so forth, and to be involved in teaching them finances. You know, you talked about Entra, and of which I am a member as well. And I brought my two oldest grandchildren in. They're junior high and high school. They understand the computer better than I do, and I'm teaching them funnels for businesses. So we're creating, and I was doing my taxes recently, and I was showing it to them so that they understand, you know, the amount of money I put out, but what my intent for the future, for this upcoming year, and it's good for them to understand, and I've, you know, understand that you still have to work, but at least I'm working for what I want to do. I loved teaching, don't get me wrong, but when it hit the point that I had to retire because my mother needed care, I was devastated because I thought I was going to work forever. I thought I was going to be a teacher at least till I was 70. And so it was very hard, and this gave me an avenue. So it's also teaching, you know, my grandkids that even though I don't look at this as work, I mean, it is work, and yes, I'm going to be able to receive, you know, some funds from it, and I want them to understand that growing a business that they love is going to be, I mean, I think you'll enjoy your finances more.
exactly.
And when you're 20, I don't know about you, but I was not working, doing what I loved. And, you know, I was working whatever I could to get through college and stuff. So And I was fortunate as a teacher that later I received grants and scholarships to fund my master's degree and to fund my doctorate classes. So
Yeah,
uh,
perfect.
but I don't even know if they'll go to college. They're both so jazzed about what we're doing right now. And they're very involved in what I'm doing, and they're helping me with my social media, et cetera. So they're both just so excited about this new opportunity that they now have as well.
Exactly. You know, that's what we are trying to do in my group, role model parents raising independent kids, to teach the kids to know the basics, as you said, like teaching them funnels, like know the basics of the business, how they can get involved, even as you said, even if not as the main job, they start to know some like extra income. And maybe even one time they decide that they like it to be their main job. They just like to be an entrepreneur. They like to be a business person, right? But
Right.
that's very important so that they know how the world is working and how the money comes from, the value of the money, the art of making the money, especially in the new economy and new world and the whole connectivity of the world that we have all those things. I believe that exactly what you say, that this is essential that we teach all those skills to our kids so that they don't fall behind, right? And so that they can have a good good life for themselves. Or I think the suddenly disconnected. So we are waiting for her to come back and join the room. So anyhow, that is our interview. So how are you doing, Soila? Are you enjoying?
Sorry, I lost you.
Yeah, you just disconnected.
Um,
Let me put myself a little bit if I can. Oops, it is going. I still see you. Okay.
So the other beauty about this that I find is, and I'm just going to take this for instance for my grandchildren. That they're helping teach me as well, but they're also seeing that we're giving back. Okay, so part of why I called my group the Best Life Family, and we now have the offshoots, is my grandchildren, they didn't know what my children went through having a mother with chronic illness. And I mean, there's dynamics that they just didn't understand that they now do understand. They also are following other people, and they're seeing that, yes, you're growing a business, but you're also giving back to the community, and how important that is. And for them to see the families that I've helped get on Katie Beckett, and I'm sure I'll be able to help somebody get Social Security disability, and to see that other people get to thrive in our community because of what we help them with, is really beneficial to them. Like my grandson, he was 11, and he said, "Oh my gosh, we helped this girl get a transplant," and he was just so excited at the opportunity to help somebody else out. And it was good for him to understand that even at the age of 11, he was helping me to help her. And I think being in service while having a business, you have more opportunities to be in service if you are an entrepreneur. And I just am humbled at being able to work with them this way.
Very good. Perfect. So Deb, that was so great to have you here to hear. I believe that this is part of your story, just not the whole things that you are doing. And that's so amazing that you have helped so many people in your life and you're continuing doing that. So how people can reach you if they want to be in contact and use your services?
Okay, so they can find me at Debra Hartwig on that's my page on Facebook.
Okay.
Or I mean, that's probably the best place. Because I do my classes there as well as the Best Life Family.
So let me write it to see if I write it right.
Okay, it's Debra Hartwig, Hartwig.
Okay, very good. Is it correct? Do you see that?
Oh, let me check that. Yes,
Perfect.
very good.
Very good.
And yeah, and really, if you come across anyone, Nadia, you can give them my email or whatever because,
So do you like to show your email here?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's just my Deb Hartwig at Gmail. I'm just so excited at what you're doing because I wish you were around when I was a parent, and trying to raise little girls that were, I have one daughter who's a teacher, and she keeps saying, "Mom, I can't believe you let me live." And I'm just excited watching you and stuff. You have such a presence. You're so calm, and
Thank you.
I wasn't always the calmest parent,
Oh
and
no, I'm not always the calm. We all know that the parenting. I just learned something that said if it never happened that your kids hate you, you are not a good parent. So
right.
really, I'm not sure that how correct is that, but then at least it's reassuring that if one time your kid says something like that to you, says you don't hate yourself for that moment, right? So you say,
Right.
okay, I'm doing my job.
Yeah, it's very hard not to to disassociate your emotions from parenting.
Yes,
And
exactly.
but it's very fun watching you, and I appreciate you
Thank you.
letting me come on here and talk about what I'm doing as well. I feel honored to be here.
That was a great pleasure. You know, that the day that I realized that you have done so many things, like for example, one of them just provided transplant for a person, you gave life to one person. It just has been one of the things that you did. So that has been so great, your fulfilled life that you have had. And that's just spreading the hope for all the people around, right? And that's
Right.
the things that I like to do, to just, I have had so many experience in my life too. I have gone through so many things, and I experienced the life that the way that I liked to have. I had so many interests in the life, and I had tasted all of them, right? And I'm continuing doing that. And this is the last thing, maybe not the last, but the things that I am doing right now to help the parents to, as you said, to be at least more confident in the things that they are doing already great, to be sure that yes, they are doing right. They just have to continue, give the love and the energy and the resources that they have to their kid, and give those confidence to their kids so that they can do all the great things that they are going to do in the future. After all, the kids are going to make our future, right? So that's the best thing in the world. The best investment is to investment on the kids so that they become the better people in the future, and they are going to make a more beautiful future for us. That's my belief, that our future will be better than what we have now because of the kids that they are going to be, and we see already they are more intelligent than us, they are more caring, and we just have to guide them to give them the resources that they need. Right?
Yeah, I'm excited to watch too the financial part that you're gonna, because people don't think about that with kids as much as they should, and
Yes.
and just am excited that you're going to address that subject along with other things in parenting.
Yes.
So I'm excited to follow you and learn about everything that you know too.
Perfect. Thank you. As was saying in my group, role model parents raising independent kids, that everything, like to be successful in any job, any work, or any financial matter, you have to fix inside of yourself first, right? Your emotions, your health, and your social relations too, right? Social intelligence, that is has its own thing, and social relations like communication, the way that you interact or even think about other people, the way that you like to help other people, all those things that are going to help you. And the money comes after. Although we need some techniques, like all those things that how to do the business, or even it's not just the business. You want to get any traditional job, right? Right now, I am working on the career advisor. So I want to be an official career advisor so that I can help completely all the parents to guide them that how they can guide their kids through what they really like. As you said, that's very important that our kids follow what they like. At first, they have to realize what's their dream, what they like to do with their life from the beginning of the life, before doing many mistakes and then get back to the track, before do a job for 40 years and they just wait to get retirement so that they can do whatever they like to do, right? So those are all the things that I love to spread in the world.
Oh, good.
So Deb, that was great to have you here. If anything else you want to say us?
And Soheila, I guess. So I'll never pronounce it. Soheila. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Soheila. That's my sister. Lovely sister.
Thank you both. Thank you so much.
You guys have a great day.
Thank you.
That's very nice.
Okay.
Very good. Thanks a lot. I will see you later.